Okay, guys, I am excited to welcome our next guest to Let's Get Freaky. We have got Ali with us tonight. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you're on the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So you're based in New York, is that correct?
New York, New Jersey. Yeah,
Yeah, cool, cool. I see you're a Rangers fan on
big
your
time.
Instagram. Love that.
Ever since before birth.
Yeah.
Before birth. My mother's last game, she was 3 months pregnant with me.
Oh, wow.
So it started
Wow.
even in
It's,
utero.
it started before you was even out. Yeah.
Yeah, and she always calls me her hockey baby because I was born September of 93. Their last cup was June of 94.
Oh,
So I
yes.
always say I'm kind of like her little hockey baby ever
Yeah,
since.
yeah. You're due another cup, would you say? It's
I
time
want
for
another cup.
it's time for
It's
another one.
time. I thought in 2014 they were going to do it. And it's freaky because my niece and nephew were born December of 13 and they made the finals June of 14, but they lost to the Kings.
Ah,
And I said that would have been insane. Exactly 20 years
that
if that
would.
happened.
Yeah, next
And
year.
now this year is 30 years and makes me feel very old because I just turned 30 in September and now I feel really old.
30's not old. 30 is not old. That's young.
I feel it. I feel my knees crack when I get up.
Yeah, yeah, same.
My
Yeah.
we just had my father's birthday, and I'm like, and my niece is like, get up, and I'm like, Gabby, I can't walk that fast anymore. I
I
can't
make
carry you anymore.
yeah. I make a noise when I get up now, I think is
Yeah,
something you hear a lot as you get older. You make that
yeah,
as you get up out the where'd that come
yeah.
from, man?
I
Oh,
know
it's horrible.
it is.
Apart from that, we're all good. You said you're not feeling too well today, so thank you very much for doing
Oh,
this.
thank you. I'm okay. I'm hanging in there, but I'm doing all right.
Awesome. So you're a historian and an author as well. You
I
tell us a little
am
bit about that.
sure. I received my master's in American history from Monmouth University out in New Jersey a couple years ago, and I just put out my first book 3 months ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's called She Spies, and it's based off my thesis. I did female spies in the American Revolution. And as I was doing my research, I
Wow.
discovered something. It's called There's a Mysterious Agent that was known as 355. And for years, nobody could either knew who she was, did she exist? I figured out who she was.
Wow.
I
That
did all my
sounds
research.
very interesting.
And I found, because I've read all the books on them, like, Brian Kilmeade and Don Yeager have a book that said, will we ever find out who she is and give her the credit she deserves? And when I was doing my research online, especially during COVID, I found this one article online. I said, how did nobody find this about her? That I found it. This one
Wow.
piece tells you who she is. And it makes all the sense in the world with all my other resources. I said, that's who it is.
That's awesome.
So it's on Amazon. It came out a couple weeks after my birthday in September. So
Yeah. Can I ask you a little bit about what she did? I don't want to
sure.
give the whole book away, but if you could tell
Sure.
us a little bit, because that sounds super
So
interesting.
she was the reason that John Andre got hanged for espionage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, John Andre was working with the loyalists with Benedict Arnold and who I say 355 is, and he was caught wearing civilian clothing. And then George Washington went to Benedict Arnold's house, encountered who I say 355 is. She went into hysterics and then the
Wow.
article I found coincided with when they said she went into hysterics because it said blah 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 went through hysteria and anxiety her whole life. And I'm like, why did nobody else put this together but
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
How did no one else put this together?
So you've changed the history books.
I think so.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's not many people can say that.
No, I mean, my friend Olivia, because like she usually reads all romance novels and all that. And she read and she goes, how did you figure this out that no other historian figured it out?
Wow.
I said I started my research in 2018 and then I had to do so much online when COVID hit. And when I saw that journal article, I'm like, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It all makes perfect sense.
Wow.
And
So
that's how I figured it out.
has that changed the history books? Has that been documented and officially changed?
I definitely think it's going to change the history books. It just started selling a few months ago, so I'm almost at 60 copies out.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
trying to get more talks at museums to do it. And I just, when I talked about women's history and I was reading about all these like women spies and the stuff they did before the revolution, I said, why isn't this in the books? If I didn't do this research in graduate school, I never knew half this stuff existed. And I've been studying this since I was 13.
Yeah.
I've been studying American history since I was 13. Because like my grandmother was so big into history and literature. And I'm like, why isn't this here?
Yeah.
Because my one professor, my very first semester at graduate school, he said, your final paper, I don't care what you do. He said, as long as it's from the Stamp Act to the end of the American Revolution, I don't care what you do your paper on. So I said, I'll do the Culper Spy ring because my father's family's from Long Island. And there was one woman spy in there. And I said, gee, I wonder if there are more. And I was like, when I saw the list of what they did, I'm like, why isn't this in the book? In any history book
Wow.
I've ever read, none of this was there.
And there was a lot of spies,
A
women
lot of
spies.
stuff. Yeah, there were even some before the revolution. There was one at the Boston Tea Party. There was one 1774. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's so interesting.
yeah, I couldn't
That's
believe it when I was doing all my research.
that's cool. Well,
Yeah,
I'm definitely interested in your books. I'll share the
thank
link
you.
in the show description as well, so people can
Yes.
find that book. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's right on Amazon. Like I said, it was put out September 18th. It came out.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm
And
talking to a history changer right now. That's
oh
cool.
yeah,
Love
that's
that.
I mean, look, like my mother's like, well, I'm biased, but like, she goes, I get it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because like, I when I ordered my preliminary copy to do some edits, and she was like, I get it.
yeah,
It makes total sense why you think it is who she is.
yeah. That's so cool. That's
It
so
is.
cool.
I
I mean,
mean,
I think a lot of our history that we're told could be wrong in a lot of places. And that's just an
yeah,
example that you've proved there. So,
yeah.
wow. Well
I
done.
wish it was more talked about.
Yeah. Well, it's
I
great work. You got the book out
thank
and
you. Yeah.
we're going to see it. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's so nice to finally have it out. I mean, I had to do so many edits, and it was stressful, and writing a book is,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
just so happy it's finally out there and it's selling pretty well.
Well done.
I mean, a
Awesome
lot of
stuff.
my friends are messaging me. They're like, I don't even like history, and I can't believe what you did.
Yeah. Well, changing history. I mean, not many people can
Yeah.
say that.
Oh,
So
no.
well done.
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm definitely going to get the book. That's for sure.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to talk paranormal as well.
Okay.
Where does the paranormal start for you?
Well, it kind of has to coincide with my book, and I try not to make fun of my mother because she ended up like with a medical episode because of this. But we were doing book research for me. I was still in graduate school. It was October of 2019. So it was right before COVID hit. So I said, I have to go to Virginia and do research. I said, let's just take like, a couple days and go down. We're only a few hours away. And she was like, all right, why not? She said, where do you have to go? I said, let's go to George Washington's Mount Vernon in Virginia. So we got tickets. We decided to do the house tour. The minute she walked in the house, she nearly dropped. She almost fainted on me. I said, she's like grabbing me. I said, what happened? She goes, I have no idea. She said, can I go outside? And the staff was like, yeah, go outside, sit on the chair outside that overlooks the Potomac, come back in if you feel better. She came back in, same thing happened. I said, what did you do? Take off his ghost? She kept just going down on me. I said, I'm not taking you here anymore. So
Wow.
it's like a running joke that I say that you tipped off George Washington's ghost. And
Yeah.
now she has a blood pressure problem because of it. She has a
Oh no, I'm
rare
not.
low,
I'm not laughing at that. That's not good. But
no,
well,
but she has a rare low blood pressure problem now because of, she goes, I will never go back in that house. She
what?
said, if you ever get a book talk there, you're going by yourself.
And she didn't have that before going in the house. That was the
Nope.
first.
No. And then
Ooh.
once it was clear to go on vacation after COVID had first hit, it happened to her again when we were driving down Colonial Parkway by the American Revolution Museum in Williamsburg, Virginia. I'm like, he's not
Wow.
even here.
Yeah.
I said, we're not near Mount Vernon. We're 2 hours away.
That's because they knew you were changing history and they didn't
Yeah,
like
I
it.
think so.
Oh.
And I said, like, we have no idea how it happened. Like I said, she walked in the house. I said, I don't know if it was like the mold because it's an old house or what, but she just got faint. And I was like, go outside. 5 minutes later, she comes in. Same thing happens, like right in front of the staircase to go upstairs. I said, go outside. You're taking off his ghost. Go outside.
Yeah. Did you feel anything at the time? Was there a weird vibe?
No, I was fine. And I have tachycardia. I have a higher than normal heart rate. So I was expecting to feel it.
Yeah.
Her and I have the same heart condition, tachycardia. I felt nothing. And I have asthma,
Wow.
so you would think the mold, something would affect me.
Yeah.
I was fine. It was only her. And I said, what did you do? Who did you anger?
So she was leaving and then feeling better, going back
I,
in, and then it
she
was.
nearly passed out again.
Oh,
So then she just like sat on the back porch. She's like looking at the pictures, and the guy came up to me and she's like, is she okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
never seen this happen to her.
yeah. It's weird because you do hear people go into haunted locations or any location.
Yeah.
They can get a vibe, a feeling, and it can actually affect you
Yeah.
physically. It's scary
I
stuff.
mean, it is. And I was like, she's like, I will never go in that house again. She said, if you get a book talk there, I'm sitting in the car or you're going alone.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, well, the book talk is not in the house. I said, they have a hall for that. You'll be fine.
yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
it was the weirdest thing. I was like, I have never, and that was the first time we ever went there.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's my last. I'm like, that's
Have you
fine.
have you been back there since?
I have to go in alone now. She won't go in.
Oh, okay. So you're still
I've been
going
there.
there?
Yeah, I still go. I think we went 2021, but they weren't doing mansion tours. And she goes, oh, I don't care. She goes, I'll be in the gift shop. Buy yourself a ticket.
Yeah. How many times did it happen? Was it twice?
Just those 2 times, the same day.
Yeah.
And she's just too afraid to go back. So like every time we see something about George Washington, I said, well, you're checking off the ghost. He's here.
Yeah.
Every time, like how today in history is the day he died.
It was the day he died, the day that he
Today
was.
it's December 14th.
Oh, wow.
Because on
Oh,
our daily
okay.
newspaper, they do a thing of history facts. And she said, with an anger in her face, she's like, what happened in 1799 today? I said, oh, you killed the ghost. She goes, yeah, I did. And I won't go back. I said, he must know you worked in medical because he died of a throat infection. So I said, he knows you worked in medical.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why. I said, you were an x-ray tech for 52 years. He knows.
Yeah.
So
It's weird though, and it's weird how it happened in the same spot.
yeah, right in almost in we went through the house. The first room, I forgot what it was, but she was fine. Once we left the dining room is when it hit. We were in the corridor between the dining room and where the staircase was, and it just hit her. She went outside, came back to where the staircase was, and then it hit her again. And then she walked out and never went back in. But the
Interesting.
other rooms of the house, she was fine. The dining room, she was fine. The first floor bedroom, she was fine. I mean, I still have all the pictures.
Does your mum put it down to being a paranormal thing? Does she think it was something to do with the paranormal?
I think she does. She said, I ticked off this ghost. I said, yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
definitely did. I said, you're ticking somebody off. I don't know who.
yeah.
It's
I'm
just like how I
laughing, but
joke.
it's still scary. The thought that
Yeah,
because
just the
these things
thought of
have.
her fainting like that.
Yeah, yeah. I talk to a
Because
lot of people that go into really haunted locations, and obviously they're there to get evidence, and they're normally talking
yeah,
out and trying to bring this stuff to them. And sometimes that happens. They get sick, they get ill, things
right.
they don't. So that it's a very common thing in the paranormal world that people get physically attacked as well.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully that hasn't happened. She just got like this total lightheaded feeling. I mean, she still gets that because she has the blood pressure issue, but that was
Yeah,
the first time that's ever happened to her. She said, I wonder if that triggered something with my blood pressure. Because
yeah.
now she's on medication for her blood pressure and she never was.
Well, I would
It's,
definitely stay away from there as well.
I was like, she's like, yeah, she's like, I'm never going back in that house. I said, I can't explain when we were driving on the parkway to the beach 2.5 hours away because she's driving. My father was on the golf course. We were all on vacation and she's driving. And then all of a sudden I feel the car swerve and she goes, I said, what happened? She goes, everything went black. She said, everything just went black for like 30 seconds. I said, well, I have epilepsy. I can't drive. I said, get together. I can't drive. I have
Yeah,
seizures. I can't drive. And all of
yeah,
a sudden she woke up and I said, what happened? She goes, I don't know. I
yeah.
said, we're
So,
nowhere near them. We're 2 hours away. We're nowhere near them.
has anything like that happened since anywhere else?
She gets those faint feelings a lot like that. But like, I like to also say that like her father's ghost likes to visit for like many different reasons.
Yeah,
It all started when I was a kid in the old house we lived in when I was like, I think 13. We were home alone. My father was out at the store. My mother's downstairs in the kitchen. I'm in my room. And she said, come on, it's time to go, whatever. And I said, okay. I leave my room. And then on the right was my brother's old room. He was now married. He just got married. And on the left room was like the spare room where I had like my computer, like my work room. I hear typing on the computer. And I'm like, and mind you, that house my parents built, there was no house there before. It was a basketball court.
Oh, wow.
So I said, Mom, and she's like, what? I said, are you sure like dad's not here? She goes, yeah, he went to work. Why? I said, who's typing in my workroom? She goes, I don't know. And she said, your brother's already married and moved out. I don't know who it is. So then we went to go visit her mother, my grandmother, and she goes, oh, grandpa's visiting. I'm like, oh, you say it so nonchalantly. Grandpa's visiting.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
because I never met him. He died in 1980. And I said, it's like he visits all the time. I get the craziest sign. Like I have like this unusual name that I want to like name my child one day. And
Yeah.
it's like every time I mention him, like if I talk about Papa, the name pops up everywhere I look.
Really?
Yeah, like it happened before. Like my mom gets trivia games on her phone, and we were talking about her father. I can't remember what we were talking about. And then it's a trivia question about sports. The first sport that comes up, I'm like, oh my God, he's visiting. And she goes, who? I said, who do you think? Your father. Her name again. It's like, no.
Can I ask you what the name is?
Palmer.
Was that, sorry?
Palmer.
Palmer. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
So
and
like
that,
the question came up, like, what professional sport did Arnold Palmer play? I'm like, why is he here?
yeah.
I said, Papa, why are you
Well,
here?
they definitely give us signs from the other
Yeah.
side, you know.
He always, it's like he knows. And it was freaky too. The other day, we recently lost my father's mother back in March. And it was so weird because my mother and I were driving home from the coffee shop, and her husband, my other grandfather, his favorite song came on the radio. Not even 20 minutes after we got home, we get a text from my aunt that the gravestone was done. And I'm like, what? He was in the car too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like,
That's something you
weird.
hear that a lot. You hear songs. There's definitely signs with songs, and because I
Yeah.
mean, coincidences, I guess, can happen, and a song can come on that means something to
Yeah.
the. But it happens so often. I hear it
It
so often
does.
that I don't believe in coincidences anymore.
Yeah. Like my mother, she grew up, and we have a town in New Jersey called Belleville, and she grew up literally with Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Like she knew them all. And the other day we were talking about her mother, and the song that her mother dedicated to me from them came on the radio. And I'm like,
Wow.
how do they
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah. They know. They're listening.
They know.
They're sending the messages.
I said,
Yeah.
like, these signs are everywhere. Every time I say Papa, I see the name. And I'm like, I get it even on ads on Instagram stories. And I'm like,
Yeah. That's cool. That is cool.
so it's just like, I mean, I'm kind of writing my second book about him
Yeah.
because he from the end of prohibition to like the mid 1940s, he was a bartender to the mob.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
So when
he's
you're
got some stories.
yeah. So I said, like, when you're granddaughter to the mafia in the most unconventional way.
Wow.
Yeah, I said he had that. My mother grew up, her babysitter was Joe Pesci.
Oh wow.
So I said, I have like the wildest life. I said,
Yeah.
like, you embrace it. Like my niece is like almost 10 and she's starting to understand it all.
Yeah.
I said,
No
well,
one.
yeah, 'cause your father let you watch Home Alone. That's why. So
Great
like
film.
now you know who he is.
Wow. So you used to get babysitted by him, did you say?
My mother did. My mother grew up in Bell. My mother and Joe Pesci are 11 years apart.
Oh man, that's cool.
So they
Wow.
all grew up. She knew Frankie Valli, the Four Seasons. His hairdresser did her hair. She heard them record music.
Yeah.
She knew so many people. There was another singer we have here called Connie Francis. She lived next door to my mom's aunt.
Oh,
I
awesome.
said, like, all these, but yeah, I mean, the fact that, like, I found on Ancestry the card where my grandfather worked, and then I looked it up. I'm like, the bar is now a radio station.
Wow. That's
But
cool.
because I said to my mother, I said, why did Papa lose the bar? She said, because the mob wanted hookers. And he said, no. I said, you don't tell the mob no.
No, man.
But
Jeez.
I said, well, he spared his life because I wouldn't be here if they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. He
So I
must be
said,
a cool, he must be a cool guy, to
yeah,
stand
I'm
up to the
sad.
mob. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sad I didn't get to know him. My mom said, he was so great and sending these signs every day.
Yeah, yeah, for
And I was
sure.
just like, I couldn't believe it. Like when I'm playing the game with her, and then all of a sudden I click the link, and that's the first thing that pops up. I'm like, we were just talking about you. Why are you here?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
are you
It's
trying to tell me?
yeah, it's interesting because this happened today actually. It's very
Mhm.
interesting that we're talking about this now. Talk about coincidences and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I was having a conversation with my mum earlier, and we was
right.
just talking about we was talking about music and stuff like that. I was talking about the Frank Sinatra song "My Way."
Mm,
It is one of my favorite songs. Now I know it's a lot of people's favorite song because
right.
it's a powerful song. It means a
Yeah.
lot. If you're having a bad day, it can mean a lot to a lot of people. That song, I get that. But I didn't know this that my it was like my nan's favorite song. Like my nan
Okay.
that I never met. She died before I was born.
Hmm.
Um, and it was a song that helped her out a lot. And I was telling my mum that it was a song that if I was having a bad day, I'd put on. And it was just that weird connection that
Yeah.
we've never met. We feel like I can't explain it, but
You feel like you meet. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it was just so nice to learn that a song that means a lot to me. And I've
Right.
never really told anyone about that. I know that's a special song to a lot of people, but um,
Right.
the fact that it was special to my nan as well, that I never met, but sort of had this connection with, I found very interesting. And so it's
Yeah.
interesting that you're saying that as well today.
Yeah. And then like, every time we go to Virginia, there's like these little flies that like fly around the beach and all that. And then every time I see a dragonfly, my mom's like, "Oh, Nana's visiting." And I'm like, "What do you mean
Yeah,
Nana's visiting?" She said, "Oh, the dragonflies were her favorite animal." I'm like, "Dragonflies?"
yeah,
So
yeah,
like now every time it's like every time we go to the beach in Virginia, they're always there. Every time we're on the beach, they're there. And I'm like, "Nana's here."
yeah.
It's just
That's
it's
cool.
I
It's really
still
cool.
got over about the one though with the keyboard, and I'm like, and I said my grandmother said so nonchalant. I'm like, "What do you mean he's visiting?"
Yeah.
And she said he's telling you he loves you because he never met you. And I'm like, now you're starting to freak me out. I said, 13 years is a long time. I said, like, he didn't even know my brother.
Yeah,
He died in 1980. My brother was born 82. I was born 93. So I said, even my brother didn't know him. But I was like, my brother doesn't get any of these signs. Only I do.
yeah. It's
But it's
interesting. I feel like it's possible he could be looking out for you, and
I think so.
could be a guardian or something like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
In the
it's
house
insane
that
how
you
like
you said you heard the keyboard. Was that would you say was there other activity going on in there? Was there other haunted sort of spooky stuff going on in there, or was that
it
the
was
only thing?
it was really the only thing because like I said, my parents built that house from the ground up, so we can't really explain how it happened, where it came from. That house was an empty lot. Then it was like a basketball court for the neighborhood kids. And then when my parents bought the lot, they got rid of the court and then our house was built. And we were there 7 years
Yeah.
before. And it's just, I couldn't believe it. I walk out of my room and I hear, and I'm like, Dad's not here. Mom's downstairs. Scott's married and moved out. Who is that? And I
Yeah.
open the door and there's nobody there. And then it stopped.
Yeah. It's
It's
interesting.
It is. It freaked me. I said, like, when you're 13, that freaks you out.
Yeah.
And I just kept yelling at my mother. I said, "Who's in the house?" She goes, "No one's in the house." I said, "No, someone's in the house."
Do you get a feeling when he's around? Do you ever get like smells or a sense like that he's
Definitely my
around?
grandmother. I do. I don't know really I think my mother said that my father, her father loved Old Spice.
Okay.
So he always loved that. But my grandmother, I would always smell like lavender because my
After,
great grandmother, Nana, I was 2.5 when she passed. So I don't really remember too much about her.
yeah.
The only thing I remember is my mom saying, like, when she met me for the first time, I was like, I think 4 months old. She goes, "This ain't your baby." And she goes, "What do you mean?" She goes, "She's too cute to be your baby."
Oh wow.
I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it because I won't have a clue.
Yeah.
I'll learn how to suck my fingers at 4 months. I don't know. But no, she said Papa loved Old Spice. So I was like, all right, I'll just go with that because
Yeah.
I don't it's like I don't know him, but he somehow knows me.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
I know.
I get smells. So I will, you know, it can happen anytime really, but if I'm having a bad
Yeah.
day, well, I'll get a smell. I can smell both my granddads. I was close to both my granddads. Um,
Yeah.
I can smell their aftershave, and like I just sort of
Okay.
feel like they're around me, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I do think that they look out for us, that
They
they're
do.
there, that they're there. you
I
know?
mean, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was really like the only one I had the relationship with because Papa passed in 1980, Nana passed in 96. My father, well, both my grandmothers, I should say, because my father's father passed in 98, but both my grandmothers were around pretty much my whole life. My father's mother passed this past March, and then July will be 10 years since my mother's mother. So my grandmothers I knew. My grandfather's, one I barely knew, one I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then my great grandfather, he passed of epilepsy long ago in 48. So I was like, well, he visits because he gave me the seizures. That's how I know he visits. Every
Thanks.
time I have a seizure, I'm like, yeah, you're here.
Thank you.
Bugging me. Thank you for this. It's six generations. You had to come to me.
Ah.
Yep. Like my grandmother doesn't have it. My mother doesn't have it. Her sister doesn't have it. My brother doesn't have it. I'm like, sure, come right to me. Every time I have a seizure, I'm like, yeah, you're here. You're here too.
How often does that happen? Is that quite a regular thing or?
Yeah, it's hard because I don't know they exist. I have a rare form of epilepsy where I don't convulse, I twitch. And
Okay.
I don't feel it until it happens and I get pain in the back of my head.
So you don't know it's coming. It just
No,
comes and it's, yeah.
no. I have one that unfortunately is, even though I'm on a lot of medicine, they said it's very resistant to medication and the best treatment is brain surgery. And I'm like, uh-uh.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, I don't care if I'm 30, I'm not putting myself through that.
Nah. Nah.
So it's scary because I mean, we think that I had a work accident a few years ago. But while I was in grad school, I had an accident where I worked, and when I hit my head, they didn't kind of treat me right. They made me come back to work instead of resting, and then I started having migraines again. I was prone to migraines. I had them my whole life, and when
Yeah.
I went to the neurologist, he was like, "All right, well, let's do some testing." And then I come out a couple of weeks after the testing, and my mom's like, "Well, you don't have migraines." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She goes, "But you have epilepsy." I'm like, "Oh." And she got upset. And I said, "Why are you upset?" She goes, "The only one who's ever had that was my great grandfather, and he died in 1948." She goes, "I didn't even know him."
Yeah.
So I'm on like 3,400 milligrams a day of medicine. But my doctor was like, on the bright side, I have a patient who takes 20 pills a day. You only take 5.
Yeah.
So he said, that you are lucky in, but he said, and from my accident to the MRI in 2 years, he was like, your left temporal lobe is gone. He said, you have a quarter of your brain gone and it's never coming back. Yeah. He said, 1/4 of your brain is gone.
Oh man.
And he said that won't recover. He said that doesn't grow back. And he said the cerebellum is atrophy, meaning it's just like starting to shrink and diminish. I said, in
Yeah.
2 years, that happened. Since my accident, 2 years.
Yeah.
And he said, it's hard. He said, I know. And he said, you can control it, but it's not going to go away. It's not going to come back.
Yeah.
No, it's on the left side, that temporal lobe, that's gone.
Can I
I
ask?
said,
Can I ask what you did, if you don't mind? If you don't have to tell us that. If you don't want
I
to.
was a, it's okay. I was a cashier at a supermarket and I was ringing up a customer. She had water under her cart and we have like this shelf where the plastic bags are and it's a metal shelf. When I picked my head up, I hit my head
Oh man.
because my whole life I never had epilepsy. All my tests were normal except for migraines. And I had to go through concussion therapy and I just started getting worse with the headache. So I said, I said to my mom, let's call a neurologist. And he did an EEG. He did the first MRI was normal. The EEG is what showed the epilepsy. So he said,
Yeah.
I'll repeat the MRI in 2 years. We'll see where we're at. That's where I'm at. In 2 years, my temporal lobe shrunk to nothing.
Oh man.
It's hard. Like, I mean, I know there are people out there who have it worse than me, but to be 30 and knowing 1/4 of your brain is gone and that's never coming back.
Well, I mean, you're still writing books and
Yeah.
you're changing history.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I mean, not
that's
many
one thing
people can say that.
no, that's one thing he said. He said, that's the thing with it because it affects so much of your memory, which to me it does. He said, you can remember things pre-accident. He said, but new memories are very hard to maintain. Like like I said, with my book, I can remember the American Revolution because I studied that forever. But if my mom says put butter on the shopping list, I forget to do it.
Yeah.
And she had just told me to do it.
Well, I do that very regularly. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
so,
hard. I mean,
yeah,
I never thought I would have it. I mean, even she was like shocked when the results came and she goes, I said, you know where it came from. You know who to blame.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah, thanks, Papa. Didn't need that either. But
Yeah.
it's just it's
Uh,
hard. I mean, you
yeah.
try not to let it get you, but at sometimes it does hit me.
Yeah. No, I bet
Like
it's
some nights
difficult.
I some nights I forget my meds and I'm like, oh my God, I have like this horrible fear of forgetting them
Yeah.
because I know what I'm like without them. I know exactly how I feel without them. I'm like, I hate this feeling.
Yeah.
It is so scary. Like my friends and I tried to do like this reset thing, and it's just like, like very low calorie thing. And we had like a shake in the morning, and then they're like, you take like this energy drink, and then with lunch, you have this one drink with the soup. Right after the soup, I seized. And I seized, like my head was like so bad, I thought I was just gonna drop.
Yeah.
And my mother called the neurologist and she was like, he was like, get her off this reset, get her off this detox. With her medications, she needs like a full like 2,000 calories a day. She can't go. He said if she wants to shake one morning for breakfast and then have a full lunch, he goes, I don't care about that. But she can't have less than like 1,000 calories a day. Not
Yeah.
with that much medication. And yeah, because like everyone was like, what? Like, why do you need calories with medicine? I said, apparently so.
Yeah, man.
And I had to stop it. And I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I had like the worst headache I ever had because the beginning of it, I was fine. Like the minute I said, there's nothing in the soup I'm allergic to. I have two food allergies and it's not in there. Why am I doing this? Why do I feel like this? And he said, too little calories. That's why he said, with your medications, he said, you couldn't even do the keto diet because keto diet's supposed to be good for epilepsy. He said, you need the carbs because of the medicine.
Yeah.
And because two of the other medicines that they treat for epilepsy here, I'm allergic to. And he said, the other one, he said, you'll gain weight with it. And he said, I know you don't want to do that. I said, no way. Because as soon as my mother heard the name of the medication, she's like, you're not putting her on that. Because like I
Yeah.
said, my mother's in medical, so she knows everything.
Yeah. I mean,
So
the good thing is you can control it. You're doing great
yeah,
things. You're doing great things.
yeah. Thank you.
So, and you seem like a very positive person to me.
Thank
So
you.
keep doing that. Keep the great work up.
Thank you. You have to be, it's
Keep
hard. Like I
keep
said,
changing history.
I'm definitely trying. I mean, I'm still shocked that I wrote this, that I figured it out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
said,
cool.
how did no other historian catch on to this? Because the book that I read for my research, like they wrote a paperback version of it, and they did afterward who was Agent 355, and they mentioned who I say it is, and they said unless new evidence comes to light. I'm like, well, you missed the most important one of all.
Yeah.
You missed it.
Are there people trying to sort of push back on your evidence? Is there anyone out there that's sort of like, no, you've got that wrong, I'm afraid?
Actually, yes. I tried to do a talk with the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And they were not having any bit of my research. They were just like stand pat on who they believed 355 was. They did not approve of my research. They did not like what I found. And I'm like, it's right on JSTOR, the online research forum. How can you deny this?
Yeah.
They told me no, because I can say who they think is. They think it's Anna Strong, who was a housewife on Long Island, who helped the Culper Spiring. I'm like, yes, she did that, but you're ignoring everything else. They
Yeah.
have a plaque of her in the museum. They have all four of the men of the ring and then her. And I was like, it's not her.
That's the problem. See, because you've proved it wrong, they've got to
Yeah,
change all the books, all the history, and they don't seem to like
right.
doing that with a lot of
No,
things. You hear that with
right.
a lot of things. We find stuff that challenges our history.
Yeah,
So much evidence that some of the things that they tell us are not as it seems or how it's written, and I think that
right. And
they
I've
don't
had
want to change it.
so many places turn me down just because I self-published my book. Because I'm like, I have 97,000 student loans. I couldn't get a publisher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, but I have like so many museums that turned me down from selling. And I was just like,
Well,
what do
good
you
on
want?
you though. Good
Yeah.
for you to keep doing it, push it out there.
Yeah.
You're putting your evidence out there. I'm sure the book's full of
Yeah.
evidence, and
Oh yeah.
so well
I
done.
was surprised that they told me that they didn't think that's who it was. And I'm like, you're missing the biggest piece of all. I said, if you go on JSTOR, if you look up this one article, and if you look at all the other cited sources that say why they think it's her,
Can I
like
ask you?
how I say who it is, who, and how their evidence matches, I'm like, it's right there.
Yeah, I know you can't say who it is because it's in the book.
Right.
Who is she? Can I ask you one question about her?
Yeah.
Is she a US citizen? Was she a US citizen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's,
I really
I
want to
mean,
know who it was.
I know. Everybody kept saying, like I said, like the only people who knew were like my best friend and my mother. Like they're like the only ones who knew.
Yeah. You got to get the book.
Yeah. I was like,
Yes.
you want to know, read the book.
Get the book.
Like every time I see something that says Spiring, I'm like, read the book. You'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
That's cool.
I
Oh,
mean,
good on
it's,
you. Well done.
thank you. I can't believe it's out.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like I was going to originally do that in my thesis, but my advisor was like, no, just stick to women's spies. And then if you want to add that into a book of who you think it is, do it after you graduate. She said,
Yeah.
just stick to like the female spies. I was like, all right, I can do that. And then that's what I did. I added a few more bits of information.
Awesome.
I know. I just want them to like take it seriously. Like I know who it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything fits between the article and then when she went into hysterics and then the other sources that say like, oh, she was this type of person. I'm like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want to
Yeah.
know. I want to
Yes, you
know.
need to know. You need to know who it is.
So going back to the paranormal,
Yeah.
have you had any other experiences in your life with the paranormal?
So there's one spot we have here. It's called Asbury Park, where Bruce Springsteen is from. We have the boardwalk, and not me personally, but a lot of people say that there's this one, the Asbury Park Hall, the boardwalk hall is haunted. And a
Okay.
lot of the ghost hunters have gone there and they say like there's like weird movements in the hall at night, or there's like the old theater manager and the old theater performance that haunt it. So
Interesting.
it would be really cool, like check that out at one point.
So what's your thoughts on the paranormal? What do you? I know it's a difficult question because the possibilities are endless, but what do you think? What do you think's going on?
I definitely think with what happened to my mother in Mount Vernon and then the whole keyboard thing, I definitely think it's a thing.
Yeah.
With all those visits and like all these signs, and I'm like, good or bad, yeah, they exist.
Yeah.
Even when you're not looking for them, they're there.
They're letting you
Especially
know.
like say with Papa, even like when I'm not asking for a sign, he shows up. He's like, here you go. I missed you.
It's a nice thought though.
Yay.
It's a
It's
nice
every day
thought.
with him. Yeah.
Yeah. You feel him around you all the time.
Oh yeah. Every time I look, like I said, what happened tonight with like that trivia my mom got, I'm like, oh my God, he's here again. I saw like I scrolled up to the first question, I saw the name, I'm like, we're just talking about you. What do you want? So
Have you
I definitely think so.
have you ever seen anything strange? Have you ever seen something that could possibly be like a shadow figure or anything like that? Or
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. There was one time when I was younger. I think I was like 14. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was in my mother's sister's house once, or in her apartment. And it was like after she had to put my grandmother in a home. So I was like, grandma's not here. There was
when
like
you,
some kind of like, I think there was some kind of like chill in her bedroom, and it was in like the dead of summer. And I'm like, grandma's in the nursing home. Aunt's in the kitchen. What's going on? Because she asked me to help her get clothes to bring to the nursing home for grandma. And I'm like, what's going on in here? What does she want now? She's not even here. She's still alive, but she's not here.
you felt her, yeah.
Yeah. So like and then my aunt walked in and she goes, I'm sweating. What are you talking about? I'm like, I was just freezing.
Yeah.
She goes, well, nothing's on. I said, something's on.
But that can definitely be a sign as well, the temperature drop
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my aunt like always believed in like witchcraft. She always had like all these books and all like these orbs and potions and everything in her little corner in the bedroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She
Oh,
always had that stuff ever since her husband died when my mother was pregnant with me, and she's always like believed in that ever since. And I said, well, I think it passed on because I was like her distraction, because he passed February of 93. I was born September. So she was like, she never let you out of her sight. I was like, well, then maybe that's where all the stuff came from her.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's when it all started, like everything, like, Papa and everybody.
Because you're not too far from Salem. You're not too far.
No, just a few hours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool
So,
place. I want to go there.
yeah, I think she'd love it there.
Yeah,
I
for
think she
sure.
went a very long time ago, I think with one of her sons, but it's
Yeah.
been quite a bit since she's been there.
My good friend Andy Decodes went there, and he
Hmm.
he said that there was he loved it there, but he said
Yeah.
there was a weird vibe. Like he could feel it, that the
Yeah.
energy was a weird vibe there. So I want to go there. I'm all about
Yeah. That does
that.
look like a fun place. I definitely
Yeah,
want to go there too.
yeah. And the houses, like they look so cool. Like
Yeah, they
those
do.
black wooden houses. That's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine goes like every year except for when COVID hit. And she said, like, I live for that stuff.
Yeah, it's a
She
cool
loves
place.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, one
It's,
day I'm gonna get
it's
there.
definitely, yeah. It's just freaky how like they just come.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So have you experienced anything else paranormal?
I think that's really it for now. I want to go. There's so many places I want to go, but aside from like all those signs,
Yeah, you know
it's
that
just
there's more. Yeah, that's for
there's
sure.
more.
Yeah,
I mean, I just feel like I mean, I still freaked out about like I said the other day when my mother and I were driving home and my grandfather's song comes on and then we get the text that the headstone's done. I'm like, what did he know?
yeah, yeah,
I was like, all of a
yeah,
sudden we get the text. We got the text from my father, but my aunt was up there when they did, and I was like, because when my mom got the picture, I like grabbed her and she's like, what? I said, what song came on in the car 20 minutes ago before you got that picture? She was like, oh crap, you're right. I was like, I know I'm right. What
yeah.
song came on? And it was their song.
So interesting. These
It,
synchronicities,
it
so
is.
interesting. It's
I
it's
mean,
not a coincidence. I do not
it's like
believe in that anymore.
it's like they know when you talk about them.
Yeah, they let you know they're there. Yeah,
Yeah, all the time.
interesting stuff.
It is.
Ali, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences.
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
definitely going to get the book because I need to
Yes,
know
definitely.
who that was. And
Absolutely. I think you'll be surprised like everybody else was too.
yeah, interesting. Well, the links will be in the show description so people can find you and your book. Do you want to tell the
Yes.
listeners where they can find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Aly ALY girl 9793, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Aly Riley. And my book She Spies is on Amazon now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, keep up the great work.
Thank
I
you.
hope the Rangers can get a championship for you soon.
Me too.
You're
I
due
need
one.
it. I need it. I wait, when you're 9 months old in June of 94, you see a silver thing, you have no idea what it is. When you light it
Yeah,
for the Stanley Cup,
yeah,
you need it.
yeah. At least you've won
I need
one.
it.
You've got one, but you got to get another one.
When our announcer Sam Rosen said it will last a lifetime, it's definitely last my lifetime.
Yeah, he
It's
meant it.
literally been my lifetime, 30 years.
Oh,
I mean, you can't like every time my favorite scores, I run through the house like a maniac or I scream. I mean, when we were on vacation watching the playoffs, I'm like, you better warn the hotel guests that it's gonna get loud in here. Like I am a Chris Kreider fanatic. I
yeah.
have his jersey. I met him 3 times, and when he
Oh
scores,
wow,
you
he's the
don't want to be
man.
near me when it happens.
Yeah, that's cool. I love
Yeah,
that. That's cool.
I do. I love my hockey. Like I said, I'm my mom's hockey kid. Her and my father went for years before they had kids. They went from 69 to 93.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's a tough sport.
It is.
I've done a bit of ice skating, not hockey. I would like to give it
Right.
a little go, but yeah, I can imagine it's
My brother played when he was younger, but my mom said he just hated it because one, he hated being a goalie, and two, the equipment was just too expensive.
yeah, yeah.
So all of us just went to baseball. Like my grandfather coached, my father coached, my brother played, I played.
Oh, cool.
So we watch hockey, but we'll stick to playing baseball.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a mentalist. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. I mean, the way I just like, and it was nice because speaking of the Rangers, our captain, Jacob Trouba, does painting in his spare time. And he actually did a portrait to donate for epilepsy. And he's actually sending me one.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
Yeah,
that
he's
is cool.
because his wife has it.
Yeah.
His
Oh,
wife
wow.
has it. So he said to me that he said, I have a purple print that I haven't put on the website yet to buy. He said, but if you want a mini one signed, he said, just message me your address and I'll send you one.
Oh, cool, man. What a guy.
So
Love
yeah,
that.
I was just like, oh my God. And it's like, it's so weird because like I commented that to him, and now everybody, all the other Ranger fans are in the comments wanting one. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Where's mine? Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, like he only replied to me. Yeah, they're all like, where's mine? Like, oh, I got diagnosed here. I got diagnosed then. I'm like,
Yeah. That's it.
yeah,
Ah, well, Aly, thank you. Thank you
thank
so,
you
so
so
much
much.
for coming on.
Thank you.
Keep doing the great work that you're doing. Keep changing
Thank you.
history and keep in touch. Let us know if anything else
I
happens.
will.
You're always welcome back on Let's Get Freaky.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thanks.